Arvind. Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon, Tom. I have a two-part question. The first has to do with the practice, and the second is a bit of a personal discovery, and just something I wanted to share just to get your thoughts on it. Regarding practice, when we had the one-on-one, we spoke about the awareness, watching awareness method. So I've been spending time with that this week, and sometimes I think it gets at least I seem to make it a bit more intellectual, or try to make it into something that is probably not. But in many of Ramana's instructions, he talks about just abiding in the heart. Is it one and the same thing? I mean, just descending into where you get up in the morning, or where the breath goes, or that center, if you can just stay there, isn't that enough? Or is that the same thing?
Okay. So the heart is the same as the source. So where the breath comes from, where the mind comes from, where all objective phenomena arise from. We have to understand that when Bhagavan says, from where does the mind originate? Where does the thought originate? From where do I originate? Where does the mantra, where does the mantra originate from? Where does anything originate from? You have to understand, in Bhagavan's phrasing, in his framework, everything arises from the self. So if we understand the source, if we go to the source of any phenomenal appearance, whether it's the breath or whatever, the breath, the thoughts, the mind, the mantra, he means we go to the self. So the self sometimes is known as I am. Sometimes it's called consciousness. Sometimes it's called pure consciousness to indicate that it's not just consciousness of an object, but just consciousness in its purest form, just when it's being itself and not going outwards towards objects. So to be aware of itself means just to be itself. That's it. Now, in Michael Langford's book, The Most Direct Means to Eternal Bliss, where he uses his term awareness watching awareness, he explains this in one of the later chapters when he clarifies what the method is. And he says that what it is that when people start off, the book is written for people who have no sort of, is written to be a standalone book for people who have no knowledge of Vedanta, no knowledge of spiritual teachings. And it's also written to be a book that, as far as I can tell, tries not to use any jargon, tries not to use any specialist terminology. So it's accessible. So he says, it's the awareness that wakes up in the morning. Later, he clarifies that, Suresh is asking what's the name of the book. It's called The Most Direct Means to Eternal Bliss by Michael Langford. It's one of the books I recommend. If you go to tomdas.com, you'll see a list of recommended books. And if you can see Jimmy's screen, Jimmy's very helpfully holding it up there. But if you go to tomdas.com and you see there's a recommended reading list. And it's one of the books I highly recommend. So it's just to be what you are. And to be what you are is the same as discovering what you are. It's also called self-knowledge. It's also called direct experience. And if you read the scriptures are always saying how, you're welcome, Suresh, no problem. The scriptures are always saying how knowledge is the way. Knowledge is the way to liberation. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. This means to be the self. In other places in the scriptures, it says you must have direct experience of the self. And in some sort of, especially the commentaries on the scriptures, they'll have arguments. Oh, knowledge is the way, not experience. Oh, experience is the way, not knowledge. Of course, self-knowledge is not knowledge. It's beyond words. It's beyond the thinking mind. Direct experience of the self is not an experience. It's beyond experience, because both knowledge and experience are objects. They both arise in time and space. And self-knowledge or direct experience are beyond time and space. And this is what it is to be aware of awareness. It's to go beyond time and space towards the subject. This, which Sarah said, was Shiva unique. Does that help at all, Arvind?
Yeah, I think it's easier for me to think about it in terms of how Ramana says it than Michael's book. It just seems to sit in better with me. I was confusing a lot of the words awareness and things like that. So just resting in the heart or where the breath rises seems to be a more intuitive thing for me, at least. So that helps. Thank you very much.